From the Detroit Free Press, it's Wednesday, January 27th. Here are today's top stories, presented by Bush's Fresh Food Market. Calling all foodies, Bush's is hiring. Are you passionate about food, looking for growth, development, and excellent wages? Come grow with Bush's and apply online at bushes.com/join-our-team. That's Bush's, BUSCHS.com/join-our-team.
This is Brian McCollum, music writer with the Detroit Free Press. Few sectors of the economy have been more battered by the pandemic than the live music and touring business, which for all intents and purposes has been completely shut down since March of 2020. The arrival of the COVID-19 vaccine has provided a shot of hope for the struggling industry, including promoters and venues in Metro Detroit. If the vaccine rollouts pick up pace and cases begin to drop, industry insiders say we'll probably see shows return by this summer and certainly by the fall. That doesn't mean a full-blown concert schedule or packed arenas, at least not anytime soon. But artists and promoters are likely to get creative. Expect scaled-down, outdoor events with plenty of health protocols in place, and expect to be wearing masks for a bit. For his part, Dr. Anthony Fauci told a national performing arts organization this month he anticipates indoor theaters will be able to reopen in the autumn, so long as the vaccine is widely administered. There is still plenty of unknowns ahead, and it'll be 2022 at the earliest that live music might be back the way we knew it in 2019. But behind the scenes, agents and promoters have been quietly penciling in show dates for this year, hoping the pandemic tide turns soon. And they say the arrival of vaccines is some of the first good news they've had in 11 months.
This is J.C. Reindl for the Detroit Free Press. The TCF and Huntington Bank merger will result in 198 bank branch closures later this year. The banks aren't saying how many closures will happen in Michigan, aside for the fact that the 97 closures of branches inside Meijer stores will all be in Michigan Meijer stores. The two banks have a combined 532 branches between them in Michigan. The merger was announced in December and is expected to be completed in the second quarter. TCF is being merged into Huntington, and the TCF name will go away forever. The new Huntington Bank will then be the second biggest bank in Michigan based on deposits. It will also be one of the 10 biggest regional banks in the country.
I'm Susan Tompor, and I'm a columnist with the Detroit Free Press. Consumers will be able to avoid making payments on their federal student loans through September 30th. That's thanks to a new round of payment pauses related to the pandemic. But what will you do with that extra $300 a month? You might consider paying down some high-rate credit card debt, according to the experts at Green Path Financial Wellness in Farmington Hills. It's a good time to try to deal with your debt and bills when you have extra cash flow. It's also a good time to review income-driven repayment plans if your income is low compared with your student loan debt burden. And remember, the payment pause doesn't apply to all student loans, so check your loans and see which ones you can pause a payment on. Payments are still owed on private student loans, for example, unless you reach some type of agreement with your loan servicer.
I'm Kirkland Crawford with the Free Press Sports Department, and let's get right to it. Detroit Lions fans are still buzzing after we learned on Saturday that Matthew Stafford wants to be traded and the team will try to oblige him. Here's our reaction, starting with Sean Windsor, Dave Burkett, and Carlos Monarez.
The way the fan base has reacted to this, most of it is like, yeah, go get your, go chase a playoff run somewhere. You know what I mean? You put your time in here. It's kind of been interesting. I know there's some people that are saying good riddance, but I think that's in the minority, to be honest.
No, I think most people, just to address the Darrell Bevel, report real quick. Look, Stafford wanted out. Okay. I mean, I don't think this had as much to do with Darrell Bevel and where he ended as just he was beat down like Barry Sanders was and like Calvin Johnson was. It's just, he wants to keep playing and those guys didn't. That's what this organization has done to too many players for too long. He did not want to go through a rebuild. Had Darrell Bevel been here as head coach or maybe as offensive coordinator, maybe that might have made him a little bit less likely to ask for this. But I think this was done when the season was done, probably during the season. He wanted this to happen. And frankly, this wasn't about Dan Campbell keeping Darrell Bevel as offensive coordinator. Darrell Bevel didn't want to come back as offensive coordinator once he got passed over for head coach. So that was not going to happen at all. And that's why we are where we are again today. Matthew Stafford and Kelly Stafford, they've put their house back on the market. This trade is going to happen. I know, people have said over the weekend that it's only happening if they get fair market value. They will get a first round pick, something of that ilk. And Matthew Stafford will be playing for a different team in 2021.
Carlos?
Yeah. I hate to admit it, but I'm kind of in agreement with Sean. I don't know if it had to happen. If I'm looking at it from the Lions, and from Stafford's point of view, he absolutely wants to go. Why? Because he's 33. The injuries are piling up. He's having a hard time getting through the season now. He knows he wants one more contract at least, right? He wants to cash in. He wants to go somewhere and get a new contract extension or whatever. He knows the clock is ticking. And the Lions aren't going to extend him. So he needs to go somewhere before his body completely shuts down. It makes sense from his point of view. And I don't blame him for not wanting to go through another rebuild. And it's going to be a slow one. I mean, no matter how much Brad Holmes calls it a retooling, it's a rebuild, and it's going to be a long and slow one. So I don't blame Stafford for wanting to leave.
For more stories from the Detroit Free Press, be sure to check out freep.com. That's FREEP.com. If you're a fan and want to support our quality local journalism, subscribe. Go to freep.com/special offer.